I've got a problem. This is me making a gift for a famous welding YouTuber. This is me receiving a gift from another welding YouTuber. You see, about 4 months ago, I got a crazy idea to do a gift exchange with some of your favorite fabrication channels. So I fired off some emails, and to my surprise, they all said yes. So I threw their names in a hat, drew, and out of all the awesome channels, I drew the name Tim Luskin from the channel Tim Welds. But deciding on a gift for someone can be super intimidating, especially when it's someone that you respect and admire. So I decided to play it safe and go simple with a shop towel dispenser. And if I have more time, I can add more things and make it more complex later on. And spoiler alert, it gets more than complex. Welcome to the 2025 Fabricator Exchange. Okay, so I started doodling some things out, and I picked this because I thought it would be simple and easy, but by my nature, I can't make anything simple or easy, and I've already blown this out of proportion in my head. So let me show you what I'm thinking. At first, I was like, do we do a vertical post? That's too simple. Second, I really like the horizontal better. This way we can make something that covers it up, keeps them clean. But the thing that's tripping me up is this thing spins. And when you have something that spins, that means that you can drive something else off of it. I think we're gonna make a shop towel experience. Okay, so bear with my doodles here. First off, we have a flange with a bearing armature that our paper towel holder is gonna install into. Second, I wanna add some sort of artistic element to it. I really enjoy kind of geometric shapes. I've done several other art pieces that have involved steel shapes in just different orientations, and I just really love that look. It can be simple, elegant. Then for the experience, I love me a good marble machine. So we're gonna make something that spins off this armature when you pull the paper towel. It's going to drive a marble up to the top and run down a track, around the artwork, maybe even through it, come back around and back to the bottom. So after a bunch of thought, I've kind of broken this up into 3 separate sections that I believe at this point I'm gonna need to execute this thing. First, we need a backer plate that we can bolt this thing to the wall. Second, we're gonna need perpendicular plates that mount to that is going to be able to hold a bearing set or some sort of armature, which would be our third thing that holds our paper towel rolls and is going to drive something, maybe resembles this, we'll see, that is going to pick these marbles up and bring them up to the top of the marble machine. And then the fourth element is going to be the artwork that is on the front. So in my case, I think I'm going to do some like stainless and mild steel, maybe some bronze, silicon bronze shapes that'll be polished and rusted and patinaed. So now that I've decided on the general concept, I have to decide what type of materials I'm going to use for this build. Now the rules of this exchange, we can use any materials we want, but since it's a fabrication channel exchange, we have to have some element of welding. Now I have that covered because my art piece in the front, at least I know for sure, is going to be welded up. Now I have to decide what I'm going to use to kind of erect the rest of the build. And I think this big piece of 1/2-inch aluminum has caught my eye. So now that my parts have all come in here, I got some magnets, I've got some roller bearings for the spindle / armature, and we've got some ball bearings for our marble machine. Now I'm going to take to the computer and try to build something that I can put in my hands and just kind of like feel it out. So my thought here is I was going to have a 3D printed clamshelled part that our 3/8 ball bearing is going to ride inside of. So this will be the top of it, and then it can go from the bottom. That I would have a drive arm in the center, so when the ball bearing went to the bottom, you pulled your paper towels, it's going to spin the bearing armature and bring the ball bearing right up to the top. But then, kind of stupid me realized that if I'm going to hold this clamshell together with bolts, I can't have a spinning thing in the center of my clamshell. Now, since that's obviously not going to work, I had to scrap that idea and go with plan B. So I made another set of these that are not hollowed out in the center, and thankfully, I ordered magnets. I was not intending on using them for this purpose. Oh no. Ugh. That was a mistake. But I think these are going to work great to allow me to drive these ball bearings up from the outside. Now we just got to make some housings for our bearings to press into. So now that our prototype housings are off the printer, let's get it back out to the shop and see how this all fits together. I don't know if you can see here, we've got a bunch of layers. So this one's got a bearing in it and this one's got a bearing in it. And then these all are gonna get sandwiched together on a backing plate. Something else we can work on is either the spindle for the armature or the artwork, and I think I'm gonna start on the artwork. Now to that, I'm gonna do a combination of cylinders. I've got a stainless chunk of tube here, and then I'm gonna use some of my Weld Metals Online coupons. I love these little things. It's just a bunch of clean material that's already in rectangle shapes, so it's gonna be really easy to make some fast kind of geometric shapes. Okay, so now that we got all these shapes pretty much well together, ooh, some of those are kind of warm, that was stupid. We're going to kind of start finishing these. So I've decided on a couple of patinas, and then a couple of these, like this steel one right here, I use silicon bronze filler on the side. So I think we're gonna polish the silicon bronze and DA the sides so that the sides can rust in patina. And then some of these are gonna get brushed sides and polished edges, just to kind of break up just make it unique. I do know a couple things. This thing coming off of here, I integrated some flat spots. So as you can see right here, there's a flat spot there and a flat spot there. I'm gonna reprint this center one with a flat spot. And these points once I get it fabricated out of aluminum, are gonna be the points that all of my shapes are gonna be built off of. But first, I'm gonna take a quick break from this because I think the mailman's here. Okay, so I got Aaron from Garage Fab got me. Aaron makes some great DIY shop organization and automotive fabrication content. So let's see what he made. Keep moving forward. Garage Fab. Always like some stickers. Some foam, some more foam, some more foam. What? Okay. This is really cool. It looks like a fabrication multi-tool. This is hilarious and awesome all at the same time. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we've got part hammer. There's an Allen key in the top of this. It's got, oh my word. The hammer is a set of calipers. I've always wanted to beat on something with a set of calipers. This is so cool. Oh, and it's even got it's got screwdrivers embedded into the top of it. So we've got a triangle file, a flat file, a rule, a scribe. I think this is either a drift punch or you can use it set up like a compass probably. And then the hammer is a set of calipers. Got the measurements on the back here. And then embedded inside is a flathead and Phillips head screwdriver that can go onto the front. That is hilarious and amazing all at the same time. Okay, Aaron, this is super cool. Thank you so much for this gift. Guys, make sure to go over and check out Garage Fab on YouTube. He makes some great fabrication content, both in the automotive and the kind of DIY small shop space stuff. So make sure to go check out this build on his channel. I can't imagine the amount of hours that he put into this. Thank you so much, Aaron. This is really cool. So next, I think we're going to move on to making the spindle for the spinning armature. Now, I originally thought that maybe I'd do a shaft or a piece of shafting with a flange welded onto it and maybe machine it flat, but I've got this chunk of aluminum here, so we might throw it on the lathe and just turn it out of a chunk of billet. Okay, so we got this little spindle finished up. Made a mess doing it, but got her done. So now that we got the spindle with the flange all machined out, bearings slide on real nicely, next order of business is to get all of these components that I 3D printed and modeled cut out of aluminum. Now I have a confession, I procrastinated way too long and I realized that I couldn't cut these all out by hand. And what I was gonna do was I was going to trace them from the prints and then tap holes through these existing holes that I have so it was locked down to the piece of aluminum, rough cut them out with the bandsaw, and then take a wood router like I did with my jet boat handles that I haven't finished yet. Yes, I need to get back on the jet boat project, and router these parts out completely, which is possible. I've done it before, but I'm running out of time. So even though I got all this stuff modeled up to trace, I cheated and bribed a coworker to spend their lunchtime cutting these out on the water jet for me. So I know it's cheating, but this will move this project along quite a bit faster. So this stuff should lay out on the back plate. This one should go right here. And then the spinny bit is going to go up against that. That'll be on the spindle. And then the bearing, oh no, no. So I just realized I totally messed up. I did not account for the thickness of this. So what it's supposed to happen, you're supposed to have the end cap and the spinny bit that'll have the magnets on it, and there'll be pockets machined flush for that. Then the plastic housing, and then this aluminum housing to which this will be tapped to. And I did not account for the thickness of this. I don't know why I didn't do that. So that means that this part is incorrect. In the meantime, there's still quite a bit of work to do to make the bearings recess in these, so let's take it to the mill. I hope that I've got an 1.1 end mill. So it's looking like I got this one, which is about 20 thou under what I need, but it's better to be under than over, and we'll see if we can make it work, because I don't have a boring head for this thing. Okay, now for the moment of truth, let's see it. If this bearing fits in here. Oh, it fits, and that's just a little sloppier than I would have liked it. Kind of wondered, I was getting a little bit of chatter in that end mill, but we can shim it. So not ideal, but got my bearings all recessed here. Everything spins nicely, but I still have to address the fact that I made this too small. So I took it to the 3D printer and printed off a new pattern. We're gonna stick this together, and as you can see, this is the difference on how far off I was. I was a full 3/4 of an inch off on my width here, and then while I was at it, I added some width to this because I would be cruel and unusual if I did not make the mounting points on 16-inch center so you can mount this securely to the wall. In addition to that, I'm not gonna have time to get this water jet again, so we're gonna have to cut this one out by hand. Okay, this thing is starting to take some shape here. I got my base plate cut out. We got the outer bracket on and tapped and bolted on. Now we need to figure out our exact spacing. So this is going to be our rotating piece. We've got our 3D printed piece, and then our other mounting plate has to go perfectly here. And I didn't necessarily trust myself doing the layout of the two of these, so I'm going to stick these on. We're going to run our spindle shaft through them to make sure that everything is in line, and then I'm going to mark and maybe even drill through while this is all clamped together so that I know that the spindle, the bearings, everything is square to the backing plate. We've got our main outer brackets tapped into the base plate. I'm gonna order some flat heads so that these can sit up against the wall. Our bearings are all aligned. That's what I was worried about. This thing spins in here and floats like butter. Next thing we gotta do is drill and tap the outside of this so that we can start putting all those shapes that we welded together out here for a little bit of artwork, something for our marble to roll on. There we go. Get the right handle so I'm not hitting it out of the way. Look at that buttery bearing. Sorry, I'm excited. I'm super excited about the progress that's happening on this thing. Now that we have the back frame and our kind of spindle mount all made up, it's time to add the artwork and our shapes that are going to come across the front of this thing to just kind of give it a little more flair. Now, originally my plan was for the marble to come out the top, go over, and I was going to make it snake around all these shapes, but I'm running out of time and I think it's going to be just a little too complex to do it that way. So my next best plan is to take a piece of tubing, and I think we're going to make a geometric shape shish kebab. And I'm going to start boring holes at different angles so we can slide these over and still make it look like they're all connected together, which they are going to be. And instead of the marble going around them, it'll make a turn over here and just go through all the shapes. So it'll disappear for a hot second, and it'll come back and make one more lap back and forth before it disappears and goes around for the next spout. So let's make ourselves a geometric shish kebab. Do a little bit of slow pulse with the Prime Weld TIG 325. So we've got a solid steel one that's going to patina for us. We've got a stainless triangle, a stainless barrel shape or cylinder. We've got a stainless welded cylinder, a stainless welded cube, and then this is a mild steel cube, and then I did silicon bronze fillets in the corner here. So my intention with this is hopefully the mild steel is going to rust and patina, and the silicon bronze is going to stay nice and shiny and just kind of pop there. So now let's arrange these how we want. Okay, so I made another mistake. I probably will not be the last one on this project, but we stick our marble in here. I got this all machined, or not machined, ground down smooth, drop it in, and no rolly through. So what happened is I did not purge this tube, and this is a super thin wall, like an 035 wall stainless tube. And when I welded it down here, I think I got some internal stalactites on the inside, and that is inhibiting the rolling of our bearing. You can either try to get a piece of nylon with some sandpaper, because this is a 90-degree turn, or come in with something straight, or do I cut it back out and do it again? Decisions. I want this to be level on the wall when he mounts it, so I need to make sure that all the bearings roll properly through the course when it's in its level state. And then I got my fireball square here on the front, make sure I don't impede into the area that the towels are going to be in. There we go. I think that placement's going to work pretty well. We still got enough angle that I can either drop down with an open rail or tube to make it go down into the hole there. So while I was working on all that other stuff, I got my final pieces printed out here. But while I have all this apart, one of the things I want to do is, for aesthetics and just so it's not sharp, is round over all of these aluminum pieces. So we're going to pull out your all's favorite, my trusty poor boy router table. I know a lot of people were freaking out at me when I used this in one of my other videos, but it's just a router table. It's just bolted to a janky chunk of aluminum. Man, that works great. Has a great result, but boy is it messy. Look at this mess. Now this is the part that nobody ever shows. Gotta do the cleanup, but it's real. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a dilemma here. The next step in the process is I need to machine the flats onto my spindle here so that they key into the rotary piece here. And I don't have a collet block or whatever those things are called that holds the square thing into like a C5 collet so that I can index this 180 degrees from itself. So I gotta figure out a way to do that. I should have ordered one, I was gonna order one and I forgot. Okay, so next morning I tootled around the shop a little bit last night. I couldn't find anything to make it work, so I designed this up last night and threw it on the printer before I went to bed, and this should do the job. It's just a block with a hole and a slot in it. It's gonna allow me to slide this into where my mark is, stick it in the vise, clamp it, and then once I do my machining, I can turn it 180 degrees and know that my flats are gonna be 180 degrees to each other so we can get this done. Hey, there we go. Okay, so I've been grinding pretty hard on this thing, and I've got a little dilemma where my form meets my function. I want this thing to look beautiful, I want it to be an experience, but I also want it to be usable. So I currently had this thing bent up, as you've seen, and I was gonna mount it like right in here, cut the top off of it so you see the marble run, and then I welded up a couple of these strands here. And originally I was gonna make it come off the inside here, and then double back and return, but I got to thinking, like, having these under here is really going to limit the accessibility of getting to these towels. I mean, obviously there won't be a table here, but this thing hanging on the wall, I still want it to be easy to reach up and grab a towel. I hate to say it, I love this little curvy tube, but I think I'm going to scrap this tube. I think I'm going to put one of these right on here because I really like just the aesthetic of the marble running right across the rails. And then instead of anything occupying this area, I think we might make a little swirly and have stuff occupied right here. So I don't know, it might come out, come around, and then down in, and that still leaves this area. So I'm gonna start bending up my second concept here. If you haven't seen a couple videos back, I made these nice little wire benders here, and they're a nice simple project you can build in your shop. Okay, so I'm super excited. I just kind of got this thing working. We can spin it up, let the marbles loose. They all stay on the track, go where they're supposed to. I'm really liking the aesthetic of it. I made this little loop-de-loop so the marbles or bearings are just visible for a little bit longer, and I'm really liking it. I have a couple other things I need to tidy up. So I still having some discrepancies on where I want this thing to sit. It actually feels like it performs better if it's just ever so slightly off center. So I think I'm gonna make a spacer in there that holds it like 1 or 2 millimeters or just barely off center. And then the other thing I was thinking of is like, we want our shop towels to stay clean. So I'm going to draw up some 3D printed like housings, I think, here that go around this perimeter, and maybe stick like a clear plastic in here, something to cover all this up and keep the towels clean from dust resting on the top of them. So this is going to be the tube that holds our towels. And I originally was going to machine a flange to weld on here and make this bolt together. And I'm going to do half of that because I'm running out of time. So I just turned this thing out that you just watched me turn out. We're going to press this onto here, run a bead of weld around it. Then I'm going to throw this back in the lathe, face it off so I know the heat distortion makes it true still. And then I'm going to tap the end of this, run a cap screw in here. And then I haven't decided if I'm just going to stitch weld it in addition to the cap screw, or if I'm going to try to do like a little grub screw or something in there to keep it from... Not as pretty as I would like it, but I think it'll work. Oh yes. Those bearings ride like butter. So this thing is turning out pretty good. We're burning the midnight oil, but look at those bearings spin. I don't know, that's super satisfying. Super buttery. A couple of 1/2-inch bearings should be heavy enough, but I took some time and I modeled up these little plastic retainers, and the thought is, like I mentioned earlier, that I want this to be able to cover up the towels so that they don't get dust and grime on them from being in the shop. So these are just some little like retaining sleeves. I thought, I'm just mocking them up here. So I want to go here, oh shoot. I already see that I did something wrong. Oh well, we're gonna trim this one a little bit because I don't want to take time to remodel it because this got to ship out tomorrow. Okay, so I got the clear cover put on this thing to keep the dust off of it. Got it mounted to the wall just to make sure everything works the way it is supposed to be mounted. So it's going to need to be plumb and level, and then everything should be balanced out properly. But I really like the way it turned out. I was kind of concerned that these 3D printed frame for the plastic was going to look cheesy, but it works. And it's a little simpler than I was hoping to go for. I was hoping to make the little bearing track a little more complex, but ran out of time. We did what we can do, but I really like it. We got a billet handle here, and you can roll your thing down, get a towel, still reach everything nice and clean. You can pull the towels down manually also, just like that. Still runs the thing down. That's super satisfying. I'm just gonna be like a cat and pull the whole roll of towels off. Probably should have made something so you could just spin it backwards and just roll the marbles, but I'm sorry, I'm excited. But Tim, hopefully this is something that you enjoy and something you can use. I had a lot of fun building it. I had a lot of fun incorporating all the different elements of fabrication into it. Anything from welding to machining to 3D printing, some small, easy modeling. And I don't know, I'm just a nerd. I love marble machines and I love art and I like functional things. So hopefully you enjoy this. Now I just got to figure out how to package this thing up so it won't get damaged. First off, make sure you go and watch Tim's video, see how he reacts to this gift, and sees what he builds for the person that he drew. And finally, I just have to give a huge shout out to all the other channels that were involved. Thanks for letting me put this together. It's been a blast. Make sure you go check out Tim from Tim Welds, Aaron from Garage Fab, Adam from A Dueling Design, Richard from Beck Tools, and Mike from Moto Mule. All great guys, all super talented, and all love creating and building things. So make sure you go check out their content. If you want to see more fabrication content, click some of the links that are going to pop up here. If you want to be notified of upcoming videos, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. It's free to do so. And go build something, guys.